Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. Okay, I had recorded a video where I had painted, it didn't look like this, I just scrapped it. It was a 2-hour video and I was really happy with it. It was all turquoise and this was all a polished metallic. When I had brought the video into my computer to prepare it, the card, it said no files found. The card was defective. So what I did is I took the piece, scrubbed it. This is actual authentic coral from our last trip to Freeport, Bahamas. Picked this up from a local artisan, and it's actual authentic coral. So what I had done for this the old project is I had primed it with multi-purpose sealer, coated it with the Decor chalky gesso, and then painted it with between the three colors of the Decor Media Fluid Acrylics: cobalt teal hue, cobalt turquoise, cerulean blue, and then on the actual stems, Decor metallic luster polished coral. So when I brought the video in, it was just I didn't have the heart to do this all over again, and no, so I said, forget it. So I scrubbed everything clean and I went, Joel goes, wow, that looks amazing. And he goes, boy, that's gonna be a really nice video. I went, no, that video is scrap because the card's no good. He goes, I mean, the card's no good. So I went through the whole spiel with him, and so he said, well, can't you just replicate this? No, I'm not going to replicate that. So what I did is of course, when doing research, I went on to Google and I Googled coral. And the one thing that stood out when looking at coral was the shimmering lights of coral. So I really wish I would have been able to show you how I did this project. So instead, I'm going to go completely opposite, and I'm going to paint it black and work with the enchanted shimmers. Now, what I wish was that Decor had a coral of the enchanted top coat acrylic, because that would have been really nice. But looking at the pictures on Google, the images of coral, there are like pinks and blues and all that stuff. So I'm going to go with that. Because I've already primed this initially with the multi-purpose sealer, I don't need to do that again. But what I do need to do is, oh my goodness, I'm going to go over with a coat of chalky gesso. Now, when I do that, I'm going to put on the ultra black base coat paint. I'm not putting that on this because I tried to scrub off as much of the metallic as possible and it didn't all come off. So the gesso is going to create that tooth for the paints to stick to. Oh, I need to put that into a smaller tube. Oh, this is huge. All right. What I also realized is when painting is that I was initially doing it with a flat brush. Bristle brushes is the best because this coral is very fine webbing, and I can't throw this out because this is the only piece. And I sourced this from a local person in Freeport to make sure that it was sustainably sourced. So when the pieces break off and they're just floating, that's what it is. I also have a starfish that I'm going to be working on. Let me just grab it. And I'm going to be painting a seascape on that. Now, before you get all upset about the starfish, that was also sustainably sourced, which means the poor thing was dead. So Bahamas are really picky about how that stuff is sold. So, and if you ever make your way down, I don't know if they have these stores anywhere else in the Caribbean. Panama Jacks, they have some smaller pieces like this. They only had small pieces, so I got this from a local person, but these are really beautiful. So I'm going to try this. So I'm just going to go into the gesso, and I hate the idea of doing this because boy, oh boy, was it beautiful. And you know what it was? It's out of pure frustration that I just took it to the laundry tub and I just scrubbed the crap out of it to get rid of as much paint as possible. Now, I'm a hypocrite because I'm always telling you, if you make mistakes, take it as a learning opportunity. and, you know, blah, 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 and that I'm going to show my mistakes and stuff like that. The one thing I can tell you, and you know what, there's no way around it. If you're doing videos, recycle your cards, like your SD cards. The card that was defective, that thing was 7 years old. You know, and it's my own fault. Boy, I like that. Ooh. Okay, let's talk about ideas later. Yeah, cycle your cards, your SD cards. Technology now is so much better. Stuff is so much cheaper. Because it was, now, I'm not going to say it was 90 minutes of wasted time, because I always say it's a learning opportunity. My own fault. I was trying to save money, because when I bought those cards, I mean, they were $60, $70 a piece, and trying to use them as long as possible. Well, that cost me. But you know what? As I'm doing this, I'm thinking, okay, the universe has my back. I am loving the way this is looking. Everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. I just put a candle holder underneath for another project, and just to support this, because this is weak. Again, this is authentic coral, so it's not manufactured, so it's delicate. I'm going to turn it over and do the back. Yeah, so cycle your cards through, and you know, I am not the first person that's gone through that problem. Oh my God, I was going to cry. Nothing's more frustrating than spending all that time to share something, you know, because the whole project was basically creating, because Christmas is coming up now, depending on when you're watching this. Right now it's September. Is to create pieces. It's a bit late for this year, but with COVID, you know, things are opening up. Is to create pieces to sell for Christmas. Unique gifts to take what you know, love, and do, and to make money from it. And that was one of these projects, is to stand out from your competitors, is to create something truly unique. And what's more unique than working on something that's organic like this? And I was so upset. I'm more upset that wasn't able to, that you guys didn't see the actual video, and it was more about the talk that I did on, you know, how to take what you love and to make money from it, and how to get around, you know, people at craft shows. They say, oh, I can get that at the dollar store, which is so insulting. Never say that to anybody at a craft show, because that's, you don't know what they put into that thing. You know, so, and I just, right now, I'll probably do it in the starfish video. I just don't have the energy to go through that whole spiel again. Oh, it's so disheartening. Oh my God. I'm so upset. And what's even more upset, when Joe thought that the piece, that what this looked like before I started working on it, was the finished piece. So the bottom I'm leaving unfinished to show its authenticity. I'm just painting the top of the root, or whatever you want to call this thing. Getting right in there. Oh. And I'm going to go in, and I'm not going to show the second layer on video, but I'm going to go in and put another layer of this gesso, because I can really see a lot of the unfinished pieces here. You have to make sure that everything, in order to get the full effect of the hologram, you need to really, or the iridescent, you really need to have everything black. That's the best effect. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm also going to be doing some color mixing, but on the actual piece. I was going to say canvas. on the actual piece. All right, so you don't have to watch all of this. You can skip ahead to the next section. Where I start putting the paint on. This is a really fast project. So when you base coat something black and then you can apply the holographic paint, the enchanted acrylics, that's where the magic happens. So I'm going to cover this up, and let me just bring out the paints. I really hope that Decor comes out with more colors than what's here. So I've got the Decor American Enchanted, the iridescent top coat acrylic, violet, blue, the enchanted shimmer in green. Oh, that belongs over here. Just a regular enchanted in turquoise, the shimmer in green, and then the ultra black base coat paint. I was contemplating when that paint went on to apply. I've got this really, really fine powdery glitter. I've got this stuff here. And I also have this stuff here, the Glamour Dust from Decor. I'm reserving this for actual resin piece, which I'm making wine bottle toppers. So I don't want to use all that up because I'm almost empty. So I'm going to be using these. The other option, if you don't have these, you can... where are they? You can use the Decor Media Fluid Acrylics Interference. So blue, magenta, turquoise, and green. You can use those as well. And they will turn out quite nice. Actually, let me bring the magenta out. That way we can see what happens. What would be really cool is if I could have painted these with metallics. But from the initial project, it took so much to try to paint in, because the whole lesson was based on creating unique art that you could sell, and when you're doing that, to get the biggest profit is you have to reduce your costs. Well, time is money too, so you have to find ways to cut down on the productivity time. And when you're spending hours doing, painting little nitty-gritty things, it could add literally $100 to the project. So this is where I always tell people, batch it, prime everything at once. Varnish everything at once, batch it like an assembly line. The actual mundane stuff, that's fine for batching. The actual creative stuff, no, that you want to do uniquely. But and then I'm going to do the back anyways, because I have no idea what's going to happen with this piece. I'm thinking I'm going to drill a hole and mount it onto a block. No, I lied. I'm going to actually mount this onto a block of resin. To make it look like it's actually in the water. Oh, wouldn't that be so cool? Make sure I have all those edges done. Yeah, this piece is still got a little bit of the coral. So I am super impressed with the Decor Chalky Gesso, because what was on here before was the actual matte, wax paste, and it is just holding this. I'm scrubbing really hard, and it is holding that paint. Wow. Yeah, so I think I'm going to mount this into a piece of resin. This piece right here. Have to make a block. So I'll do a video on that as well. All right, so now I have to let this dry, and because this is organic, I am not taking the heat gun to it. I don't want it to catch fire. I gotta clean up. All right, so I will be back in about, I'd say about 15 minutes, and then I'll start doing color mixing right on the coral to bring this thing to life. All right, so I want to go over the colors here, and I laid them out into a certain area. Because the colors, you really can't tell what they are, so I always put the bottles next to them. So here I have the Decor Media Fluid Acrylic Interference Magenta. Then here I have the Enchanted Violet, the blue, the turquoise, and then the Enchanted Shimmer, the green, and the blue. And also brought out some Duraclear High Gloss Varnish. So we did the coat with the gesso because I already had paint on there. Then I came in with the coat of the Enchanted, the Ultra Black base coat. I'll put that away. So now what I want to do is I want to do the shimmers at the top, because typically when coral is growing, it's really shiny at the top because of the light coming from the top of the ocean and coming down, where it gets darker down here. So I'm looking at the colors now, just to give you an idea. Let me just grab my swatch card. So this is what you're looking at. So there's not a lot of colors available in this line. It would be nice if there was a coral color. So I'm looking at doing, so these shimmering colors will be at the top, and then I'll do the blue and the violets and the greens more closer to the bottom. We'll see what happens. So with that, the darkest one, let's go with the blue. Now this is where you're going to see the magic happen. And the colors are just stunning. And with this, every time, I'm going to make sure I grab the right colors. Every time I load the brush, I'm going to go into a different color. And I'm just dry brushing this. Now what I'm realizing is that this stuff here, because it's so fluid, that I have to be very careful that it doesn't plug up the holes in the actual coral. And the magenta. And then when the light hits this, it's just stunning. I'm finding that the turquoise is the nicest. You know what? To be completely honest with you, this one here. This is the nicest. Oh my God, this is stunning. I'm going to use a little bit more of that right over here. Mind you, I'm biased. Turquoise is my favorite. Where's the violet? Go on this outside edge here. Now the beauty with this is when I paint the back, I don't have to use the exact matching colors. Just gonna bring that turquoise right up to there, like that. Wow. And then the blue. Where's the blue? Where's the blue? Okay. And then let me bring a little bit of the magenta right up here. There. And where's the turquoise? Go back with the turquoise right in here. As it's drying, I'm seeing where there's still more black paint. Wow, holy moly, look at that. Okay, now this is where I'm going to go in now with the sparkle green. I'm going to give that a chance to dry. Go in with the green. So the colors are not as intense with this because of all the webbing. Then go in with the blue. Yeah, it's not as intense, but it's still gorgeous. Put the blue on this side. Yeah, the turquoise is by far my favorite. I'm going to some turquoise here, right in here. And The violet, let's bring a bit more violet in here. Wow, look at that. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah, the turquoise, oh, is stunning. It is stunning. And then once it's dry, you can go in where there's still pockets of black, just come in with a different color of paint in that area. I didn't put any magenta over here. Let's put a bit of magenta over here. Now flip it over and do the same thing. But because you're only dry brushing the top edge, it doesn't really matter what color you're using on the back side. I can do the whole thing in blue or whole thing in turquoise if I wanted to. The blue is stunning. Okay. Everything happens for a reason. I'm thinking that with the look of this so far, it was much nicer than the original piece. Everything happens for a reason. Because this is the back side, if it was mounted flush on a piece of wood, then I really wouldn't worry about the back. But because I'm going to mount it into a block of resin, then yeah, because then it's a freestanding structure. Just gotta make sure now the holes are plugged up. I have no idea what this is going to look like. Because I've never painted on, well, because this is a one-off piece, I've never painted on coral like this before. But that, oh, is stunning. I'm going to have to come in and make sure that with a dry brush, let me just do that now. Let me just do that now. Just go with it. Oh, big bristle brush. Just to remove the excess paint. You don't want it being clumpy. This is a challenge to see because of all the holes in the web. Okay, so we have, I would say probably about one coat on there, and I always let this stuff dry before putting on another coat because it may not be necessary. And the bottom, because I'm going to be putting that in resin, what I'm going to do is the bottom here, I'll do that in a separate video, is I'll make it as a block, and then I will, that project alone is probably going to take about 3 days because it has to cure, but I'll just show the highlights. Is the resin, and it'll be all colored with dye. Then I'll put some sand from the Bahamas and then lay that in the sand so it'll come up to here. Then this here, I'll come in, because this doesn't need to be shiny. I can do this right now. Burnt umber and burnt sienna. So this is the Decor Media Fluid Acrylics, burnt umber, burnt sienna. And let's go with a small brush. And come in with just burnt umber. Might as well do this now. Paint the entire piece with burnt umber, and then just where the parts are sticking up, come over with burnt sienna. Because this is the root part. The root part, that's a real scientific scientific way of calling it, eh? But still leaving the bottom unfinished to show authenticity. And just come in. Oh God, I wish you could see what I'm doing here. Just come in wet on wet and just put burnt sienna where the piece is, the pieces are sticking up technically closest to the light. Like that. Because flat-wise it looks like it gets mounted sideways. I should have a camera this way so you can see what I'm doing. All right, that's finished. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry for a good hour and then come back and see if I need to add a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to come in here, stem, and put in a little bit more blue. Just going with a smaller brush now. Didn't go quite to the bottom. So anywhere where I see black, I'm going to put more paint. Make sure it's not clumpy, otherwise it won't dry properly. Okay, then the turquoise. So the blue is blending right into the turquoise. This stuff is gorgeous. I've never been a fan of glittery paint until I saw this stuff. The key is painting on black. Ooh, I completely missed this part. That should be, let me try the shimmer. Okay, yeah, you probably can't tell with the shimmer color what it looks like. So with all of this, I am not a fan of the violet. It's pretty, but it's not as intense. I'm loving the turquoise and the blues and the greens. That's my thing. But the blue transitioning to the violet is really nice. Quite go to the edge on this one. Okay, yeah, so wherever I see some black paint, I'm just going over. And up here is the shimmer. If I knew I could do it without messing it up, I would put some of that glamour dust up here. I love the look of the shimmer. But yeah, the enchanted turquoise, that's my absolute favorite. Look at that. I think I was off camera there. Oops. And let me just go back with some blue. I got a little bit of brown there. Yeah, you got to make sure that this has plenty of time to dry and you don't put too much paint on, otherwise it'll dry funny. Okay, turn it over. And then I'll repeat the same step for the back. I'm not going to worry about showing that on camera because it's the exact same step. So let that dry, work the back, and then I'm going to varnish it. All right, so I put it inside a black box. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? That is gorgeous. Look at that. Oh, So now the only thing is is the varnishing, and I'm looking at this, and honestly, it doesn't need varnishing. It's a top coat, but I wonder what it would look like. So let's take a look at that. Mia is very restless. Amazon just showed up with my new UV light, and he's not happy. So I'm going to use the DuraClear High Gloss Varnish. And now I have a brush specifically for varnishing. Cannot use that for this because it's going to get inside all the little pores. So I'm going to start at the top. And what this is going to do is going to give added strength. But I have to do, this is going to take probably about 6 coats to do this. Just, and again, like I said, it's just for the added strength because it's going to be a structure, an actual a freestanding structure. When it comes to doing the resin block, what I'll do with that is I'll show you, I'll post the finished piece on my blog. And because I also found some seashells that from the Bahamas that I can add in there on the bottom, which requires the use of a pressure pot to get rid of bubbles. So that, trust me, that's boring. So I won't bother with that. But if you guys are interested in the whole process, just let me know, and I would be more than happy to do a video on that. So if the piece that you're working on is already really, really strong, you don't need to add a varnish. I'm doing this to make it even stronger. But look at that flippin' color. Oh my goodness. So when I actually put it in the resin block, I am going to leave the bottom unfinished. This because it's exposed. Like this has already been preserved from the actual person that sourced this. I'll make sure that I sign my name on the bottom, but in resin, bubbles will come out for this. So by putting the whole thing in, this won't fit in a pressure pot. Oh, will it? I don't know. Uh-oh. I may have to rethink that. When Joe and I made our resin table, okay, which is about 4 feet by 6 feet by 3 feet. It's massive because we took live edge wood, cut it in the middle, then flipped it around. There were bubbles with that, but we used a resin that took 4 days to cure, and we had to measure temperature. It got so hot. It would actually melt plastic. Like the buckets the mixture was in, that bucket would have melted. But using a slow resin that's slow to cure, that helps reduce bubbles. So again, this is not meant for a shiny varnish look. This is for protection. Because this is very delicate. And I'll also do the bottom. Do I have any more varnish left? Nope. Oh, I got some of the interference on the bottom. That's fine. That's okay, because I can always cover it with sand. So the varnish on that will help with the wood. Will help reduce bubbles when it actually goes into the resin block. I don't know how many times I've been off camera. I am sorry if I have been. Okay. Flip this over. varnish the bottom. That will help reduce bubbles when it comes to making the block. And that's it. Now I already have something in the pressure pot, and 2 other projects waiting. So what I'll do is by the time you guys see this video, that this will all be done. And I'll have a picture to share. All right, so let's leave that the way that is, and we'll let that dry. And by the time I see you, when the next scene that's going to come up, by the time you see that scene, it'll be a picture of the piece finished in the resin block, hoping that works. And that's it, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed the project and that it inspired you. Just even though something doesn't work out, continue. Don't give up, because where you see something that turned out from a mistake turned out into something even better. The one thing I will do is I'm going to come in. Now I see where some of the holes are plugged up. I will come in before doing the whole resin thing. I will come in and put on another 3 or 4 layers of the varnish to build further strength, and then I will mount it. Alrighty, so this is almost finished. It's good enough to handle. So I took a little container, I glued this in, and I threw in some seashells and some rocks and stuff and got it settled. And then I mixed up some resin with some teal dye and poured it in, and I can handle it now. It still has to cure for a couple more days. I started cutting off the edges because the resin, when it contracts, it leaves a lip. So that's just going to be cut down and sanded smooth. But it looks like water's edge, but that's what we've got. It's a little big for the camera view. And then there's the shells. So it creates a nice little base for this, and it's permanent. And now, if you guys have used resin before, you know that you don't really like, you don't usually leave bubbles in with your resin. I wanted to for this purpose because this is like a water scene. So I've got bubbles that naturally came out where the seashell is. And there's a bubble there. That one I'm going to fix. But once this is fully cured, I'm going to pour a flood coat of resin to dome it so it'll make a nice edge. And then take this to the sanding belt, sand it down, and then polish it to a glass-like finish. But you can see some nice shells in there. So there you go. So if you don't use resin, the other thing you can do is you can pop it into some modeling clay, or even some paper mache. There's tons of DIY recipes on the internet, but just to set, your coral or whatever it is that you're working with in a base. But like these enchanted colors, oh, gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. And this turned out so much better than the first project I did, which was more beachy and less dramatic. And with stuff like this, these colors, I like the drama because it'll sit really well in on the table that I have in the corner, but it's going to be really nice. So anyway, so that's it, you guys. So let me know how you would have, if I had given you this piece here, how would you have mounted it into a stand? Like, would you have just put it into let's say a pot filled with glass? That would have been nice. That would have been an idea. But pop it in the comments below how you would have finished this project, how you would have mounted this or set this into something to make a nice little statue that stands all on its own. Alrighty, so I hope that you enjoyed this lesson, and thank you for allowing me to vent in the beginning where the project went wrong, but now I'm liking what I've done much better. So until I see you in the next video, stay inspired.